like, look, let's try to see if there's anything that we can identify that you're doing that's glaringly wrong. But also, I'll just tell you, like, if it's a sample size of 4 and you've gotten rejected from 2 of them and the other 2 are still maybes, personally, I wouldn't necessarily read too much into that.
Yeah, that's the thing too. People like sometimes what I can't stand is people look so deep into stuff. If it lands in my court, if it lands in my court, if it doesn't,
I think my point is, I was just doing a client interview. He was going through what you were talking about, but for a much longer period of time. He goes to, also a non-target school. He had like 12 interviews. He interviewed with 12 different firms. He didn't get any offers the longest time. He got to multiple super days and he was just like not get the offer. And then like Union Square said they were going to give him an offer, but he just like never heard back from them. And then they were kind of like ghosting him. And then finally he got an offer from Harris Williams. And then after he got that offer and he accepted it, then he got like 2 more offers, including Union Square, who finally got back to him. And another one was like Baird or something. So my point is like, he went 3 for 12, but actually it's not that uncommon because if you think about statistically how many people each of these firms are accepting, the bulge bracket like boutique banks, the overall acceptance rate from like applicant to offer is probably like around 1%. Sometimes lower. If it's a middle market bank, it's probably still like somewhere between like Jeffries, I know was around like 3%. Even if you say it's like something slightly easier than Jeffries, maybe like no more than 5%, right? And so most people that I know getting an offer in banking, they don't like get offers from every single firm they interview with. In fact, it's the exception when someone passes every interview that they have and never gets rejected. That's from working with over 900 students. I think like, and I tell all of you this too, is getting a few rejections along the way is just par for the course. That's just like you guys paying your dues. And the important thing is that you have to learn from after every interview, regardless of whether you get the offer or not, regardless of whether you felt like it went well or it went poorly, you got to ask yourself like, hey, was there anything I could have done better so that for the next interview you could do better. The point is, if you get a few rejections here and there, it's normal. Like a lot of people, because they start getting like a handful of rejections, then they get really down on themselves. And then they start having self-doubt and they start thinking like, oh, maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe I should just give up or whatever. That's a trap. Like you can't do that, right? Like, in fact, a lot of people will do that. And like a lot of your competition, they're going to do that. And that's why they eventually just kind of disqualify or eliminate themselves, right? And then like if you look at my story, I've told this many times before, but when I had to recruit for full-time coming out of, even for summer internship, got rejected first time. Then I ended up Bear Stearns, was like far from being my top choice. Then like didn't get a return offer. Then I had to recruit for full-time. I got rejected probably by like the first 20 plus firms I recruited with before I got my 2 offers, which are like last 2 firms I had interviews from, which is like DB and Jeffries. And I always say this, and some of you guys have probably heard me say this, was like, how many people do you think would have taken 20 plus rejections on the chin and it still kept going? Versus like, how many people do you think quit after the 5th rejection? Or the 7th, or the 10th, or the 15th, or the 18th. So at the end of the day, like sometimes this is just like, who is the most persistent and who's the most resilient and who has no fucking quit? How bad do you want it? Right. And this is why I said this in the module too. Is like, you guys all got to get clear on like, what is your why? Like, why are you actually doing this? Why is this important to you? The reason why I didn't quit was because this was too important for me to quit and like quitting wasn't an option. But like, if you're like, this is not a big deal, whatever, then yeah, like it probably would be easier to just quit. And if you're not clear on like why you're even doing this in the first place, then it's just like, you're probably not going to want to put up with all the abuse that you have to take to get to the end of the tunnel. Right. So Tammy says I'm crazy. Yeah, maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. But honestly, you guys want to have more success than other people, then to be honest, you're going to have to be willing to put up with more shit than other people. And you're gonna have to be willing to like work harder than other people, right? So like all this stuff is like directly correlated. Anyway, enough with the pep talk. I think bottom line is you gotta fight the self-doubt in your head if you're not seeing results right away, and just increase your pain tolerance and know that like, hey, like even if you're failing along the way, make sure like every time you fall, you're falling forward. You're learning from what you just failed on, and like next time you come across an interview opportunity, you do slightly better. The next time you do slightly better, slightly better, slightly better. Think about it as like a football field. You're just like, every time you pick up 2 or 3 yards, and like eventually you're going to be in the end zone.
Hey, if you like this video, click the like button and hit subscribe to get more content like this.